Saltburn has recently hit Prime, and it's safe to say that it's a movie that's capturing a lot of people's attention, for the right reasons that is, because it's an absolutely class film with some elegant performances, beautiful cinematography, and a gripping, thrilling story. But amongst that tasty layer cake of goodness, there was something with a more disgusting taste, let's say, and that was the scene that occurred in the bathtub. Let's not mention the grave one yet, as that could be getting a dedicated video too. But the one in the bathtub was such an important moment in the movie, and it was for a number of different reasons, many which I'll delve into within the video. But another main takeaway was the fact that it worked in a number of different ways when in reality it just shouldn't have. It worked in terms of developing the story, elaborating on the character Ollie, and making us feel a certain way whilst it unfolded. So I won't hold you back any longer. Well, myself back in talking. Let's jump into the video. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The bathtub scene truly began at around the 48th minute of the movie when we saw Ollie walking through the dark corridor towards the bathroom, so I'm going to start the analysis from around there. The build up to the bathtub. Up until this scene in the movie, we hadn't truly seen any weird actions from Ollie. Don't get me wrong, we had moments where he was watching Felix from his dorm window at the start, but we were only really under the impression that he liked Felix and that there was no sinister intentions or strange obsession that was present. We must remember as well, Ollie was reluctant in going to Saltburn at first when he was initially asked by Felix. He actually had to convince him to go, even though that was just all an act. But from our perspective, Ollie was just a regular guy who had a hard life and was a visitor at Saltburn who was attracted to Felix. But that was all. He hadn't had that weird encounter with Venetia yet, so he was still just a regular chap. So at that time, we as the viewer were lured into a false sense of security, just like all of the characters were in the show. To me, Ollie walking down this really dark corridor that was only lit by the bathroom that was at the end of the hall and the thick, dark red light that was shining through the tiny windows at the top of the wall showed that Ollie was not only walking to the scene that we saw unfold, but it was his darker side coming to fruition, and it highlighted that it would be coming more to the forefront of the character as the story progressed. As from this moment on, we never saw the innocence and timid nature of Ollie again, the persona that he made out like he had. Instead, there were more moments which showed that he had sinister intentions behind his presence at the estate, something which tied into the ending. Watching Ollie look at Felix through the crack of the door, an activity that Ollie had become familiar with as we'd seen him looking at him from afar on a countless number of occasions by this point, even whilst being intimate with a woman. But this time, with Felix doing things to himself and Ollie being in complete shock, in awe, and not wanting to look away, it showed the perverse nature that he had and that there was a side to the character that we didn't expect to see. Accompanied with the close-up shots of Felix's body, intercutting back to Ollie just looking and clearly getting excited by what he saw, it provided a somewhat haunting exchange where you felt the burning eyes that Felix was receiving, and the vulnerability contrasted with the intrusive nature that was present. The bathtub scene. The next part of this scene started with a focus on the bathwater that was slowly going down the plug hole. It was dirty, looked thick, misty, and like it was full of filth. We didn't know at the time why it was being shown to us, but after watching the scene, it's clear to see why. Because the director wanted to show us how filthy that water was. After Felix and Oliver had finished brushing their teeth and it was just Ollie in the room, there was a shot where there was a light that was shining down from above into the middle of the bathroom where the bathtub was, making it the main focus. The bright yellow duck on the end of the bathtub had a poignant focus too, as it was the only real thing with colour in frame. The light shining down upon it was not only symbolic of what we'd just seen Felix do in the bathtub and the intrigue that Ollie had with it, but also what was about to come. The place where the main event of the scene would occur, centre stage and underneath the spotlight. From here we saw the remainder of the misty thick water go down the plug hole, a hole that had brown grime all around it, and Ollie then proceeded to enter the bathtub, laid his face on it, rubbed his face on it, slurped some of the water in the tub and then proceeded to put his mouth around the plug and suck some of the water out of it. All of this was being done whilst it clearly looked like he was enjoying himself. As a viewer, this was a repulsive scene to watch, and it was something which was just utterly disgusting. This moment marked the turning point in the character for good, and it showed the passion and desire that he had was coming to the forefront and he wasn't able to hide it anymore. He had his opportunity to get the closest to Felix in that way possible, and he took his chance, knowing full well that Felix could have walked in and he could have got caught doing that. This scene was disgusting to watch for a number of different reasons. We obviously saw what was being done in the bathtub prior to Felix getting out of it and the state of the water, so seeing Ollie rubbing his face in it was just so grim. As well as that, the sound that was going into my ears added to the disgusting nature of it as well. The slurping noise of him consuming the water and enjoying it was something which I didn't expect to see when I put this movie on, and it provided an audible discomfort. The decision to use a close-up shot in the bathtub rather than having one that was further back, which would have allowed us to have seen the whole tub, was clearly done to provide a sense of claustrophobia in the tub and make us feel like we were almost in there with Ollie as he was doing it, whilst also allowing us to see just how filthy the water and also the tub was too. So with it making out like we were in there, we were around that dirty water. Knowing that he put his mouth around the grimy plug hole and being able to see that close up was something which was just utterly disgusting. A plug hole is just pure filth, so the fact that he went all in on it was utterly sickening. With him having his pause at the end where he was reflecting on what he had just done, I feel that was him being aware of who he truly was and that his mask had now come down. Even though this scene was revolting to watch, it was perfectly directed, because I think we as the audience gave the reaction that I think the director wanted us to have in that specific moment. One of shock, disgust, and complete revoltingness. Whilst it made us feel those specific feelings, it wasn't only used for the shock factor. When I look back at the movie, it was the true moment that Ollie changed as a character, and when he started projecting his inner thoughts more outwardly around others and started becoming that person that we eventually saw in the finale. It's almost like when serial killers kill once, they get the urge and they just want to keep doing it. That was the case with this. He did one sick and twisted thing after keeping it pent up inside of him for so long, that he then ultimately went on to do many other strange things after, such as what he did to Venetia and also Farley, before ultimately going on to kill everybody that was there. So this moment worked in not only creating an uncomfortable experience for us as the viewer, but it also developed the story and lifted the mask of the character that we knew had something strange about him, but we just didn't know what specifically. This scene is important for all of the reasons that I just mentioned, but most importantly in itself, it was an entertaining scene to watch and one which provided a lot of talkability. Yet amongst that talkability, there was meaning, artistic decisions that were made, and it wasn't just there for the sake of it, something which ran through with the entirety of the movie. Now, I've got a couple of theories and ideas about the grave scene and I'd like to do a video on it, so if you'd like to see what that scene was truly telling us, then let me know in the comments below. So, there you have it, Saltburn's bathtub scene explained. If you want to see a full breakdown on Saltburn and the movie explained, then I've got a video over on the channel, so feel free to give it a watch if you want to see more thoughts on the movie. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. Plus, I also rated Saltburn over there too, so you'll see what I gave it out of 5 stars. What did you think of this scene? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.